Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Hello. Are we here? Yeah. Excuse me. I'm a little gravelly.
Oh, it's the pollen count.
The pollen count. We'll blame it on the pollen count.
We said we live in Wuthering Heights, as your family members would say. Lynn.
Wuthering Heights. So, it's Tom Sokolowski.
Good morning.
Good morning, Tom. Always good to have you here. You said you really weren't up on the Miles verdict, yet.
We
got a little hint yesterday during the show that there was a rumor, which proved to be true, that the jury had reached unanimous verdict on one of the 3 counts, and I got all excited because
you thought it was going to be negative. Yeah.
I assumed that. Well, I don't know what I was thinking. I was thinking that there's no way they would reach unanimity if it wasn't something that found for the plaintiff, for Jordan. So I'm assuming that he won a count. Ha! Ha! What an idiot I am.
Now, what was that count? That's what I wasn't sure, because I was reading the story, at least just on the front page of the elevator. Excessive force, was it?
No, it was not. That's when they are hung on that they did not maliciously prosecute him. And
now, what does that mean?
I have not a clue what that means.
Because I don't think police officers prosecute.
That's what the DA does. But I don't know. So whatever it means, they were able to get all the jurors on board. So...
And I love that. That's one part it ended with when the elevator was going down. And the mayor said, everyone in Pittsburgh will rejoice that this mess is over with, or something.
No, he didn't.
He said something like, yes.
No.
Read that paragraph.
He said he didn't believe there was anyone in Pittsburgh, myself included, who doesn't wish the events had not occurred.
Oh, well.
So much for you going, no, that's not what he says. He says this process has been difficult for all of us. And then and then he mentions the officers first, right. and then gets to, and Mr. Miles and his family. Mm-hmm. Well, what I think, and I had talked, City Paper's reporter, Charlie Deach, who sat through the whole trial, was here on Monday, and we were talking about what we thought the verdict would be, and certainly he's been watching the jury and watching everything, and I haven't been there, but he and I both had the same sense of what would happen. And we're pretty much right. Hung jury. That's what's going to happen. That's what always has to happen. A hung jury. It's a jury made up mostly of middle-aged to old white southwestern Pennsylvanians.
Who have the time to...
Well, and how are they? They're going to find for a black kid,
right?
Against
which in their mind is probably
a criminal as 3 officers. So it ain't happening, and I just. It's a measure of such despair you feel,
sure.
Because the kid, his life has been altered not for the better. He apparently, according to the doctors, has suffered permanent damage, emotional and physical, to his brain. What his life could have been or would have been if he hadn't had this encounter would have been different. And again, what lies ahead of him now is not for the better, probably. And to think that this kid had to go through that, and with the result that he had, and then to sit in a courtroom and looking for justice.
Right.
And to be brutalized a second time.
Yeah.
I feel so for him and his family.
I agree.
I cannot.
I mean, what's interesting to me is, you may say, well, he was a black kid in a certain place, and even though it's profiling, he looked, whatever.
He looked because he was black.
Yeah, right. So you could say, if you stretch, well, maybe this business of prosecuting, or however that word, we're not sure what it means. All right, I could maybe even, by stretching, see that. But then when you go further to the fact of the beating the hell out of him, that I don't see how anyone could countenance. So 3 fairly...
They're
big
huge.
Guys,
they're all over 200 pounds, and they're in incredible
have to beat the hell out of him. I mean, how can that be conscionable?
Yeah. You tell me. But this brilliant jury, there were enough people on it. And the thing is we don't know. Was it just one holdout for jury?
Right, which is some,
what was
12
there?
angry men.
Yeah, right. Who the hell knows? Very dispiriting.
It's interesting on that as a parenthesis, since I've been, in my intermission, as I say, in between jobs at the moment, I was hoping, I'd love to get on some juicy trial, to be involved.
That's right,
in it,
wouldn't
whatever.
that be fun? Yeah.
Because it really is interesting. As I said, I think once before in the program, I was on a grand jury in New York, a couple times, which was very interesting. But just to see sort of the fact of the makeup, and are they really listening? I remember I said this once to a woman in New York, and I said, we can have different opinions, but I said, you weren't listening. And I pointed my hand to everyone. Didn't he say, ba-ba-da-ba-da? And I'm like, oh, yeah. I said, how then can you hold... Well, I am of my opinion. It's not your opinion. The facts show.
Yeah,
lady.
Exactly. So you know what? And I don't know. I hope Charlie doesn't get mad at me for this, because he said something off air to me that he wouldn't have he wasn't going to say on air, because he's a journalist. I'm not a journalist. I'm a talker. But something he observed during the trial, which I found very interesting. He said he spent a lot of time watching the jurors and got a sense of them individually, just when they were listening, when they weren't, when they took notes, when they didn't. And he said there was this one guy, older white guy, who, whenever something was said that clearly buttressed the police officer's version, he would write it down. He had little notes, and he would write it down. Whenever anything came out that would buttress Jordan Miles, he didn't write it down. So here's a juror.
And that's the dude who you don't want. He's come in with an
idea, and he's waiting for anything that will buttress his already firmly held belief that police officers don't lie, that police officers are good guys, and that this black kid deserved it somehow.
Well, that's where I think that I've always thought that sort of voir dire process is for bullshit. Because you never can completely ferret out who either is biased or, if not biased, literally, has come in with an a priori opinion. Right. And as you just said for this gentleman, he was doing...
Probably. I mean, it appeared that way.
Yeah, well,
so
sure.
It appeared that
But it's really that thing. I mean, that's when you sort of have to say, I mean, unless you were the mother... Well, but even then, I remember once seeing this on a TV show, a documentary about something, and there was a woman, like someone, let's say, the mother of another kid, black kid who was beaten, similar. And this woman made the case. She said, I really feel, and she was very poignant, that I could be on another case, and even though it was a carbon copy of my child's and my experience, that I could vote or whatever rule with the police. I could be. I want to step back because I can see both sides. And, But, as I remember the one thing, I might have mentioned this once before, but when we were doing this grand jury thing, regular jury, and I didn't get on, after they asked me, like, were you a victim of a crime, blah, 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 blah. is your husband a lawyer? Is your husband a cop? They then said, what do you read? And if you said, the New Yorker, the New York Times,
you're out.
If you said Awake, or Jehovah's Witness magazine,
Awake, or
USA Today,
Guns and Ammo,
yeah, right. You're on.
You're on.
Because anyone who reads the former has a mind and will think of their own. I just thought that was so. And I laughed.
That's according to you. What they think is anyone who reads a former is a liberal.
Well, but the thing is,
somebody who's
you
not
can't be a moron
be for the prosecution.
And read the New York Times. I'm not saying or anyone else who does is a genius. But I mean, USA Today, biggest sold newspaper in the country. They could take 9/11 and do it in 3 sentences.
I subscribe to USA Today.
Well, but you need to because you're a voracious reader and raconteuse. You have to.
Oh, yes, I'm a raconteuse. So anyway, this is very depressing.
No, you're a pundit. That's right. That's our pundit.
I'm not a pundit. I'm a loudmouth. That's all.
No, you are not. You're an articulate pundess.
I'm a harpy. Oh,
that's true. I think I'm a male harpy. I love the word harpy. I always think of those things on Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, exactly. Harpy, Harridan.
Harridan's a good.
Scold.
That's a very old-fashioned one.
Yeah, Scold's a good one. There's all of these. There's so many words for women who are
shrew.
Well, for women who are outspoken.
Outspoken, right, exactly.
And they're all negative. There is not a positive among them.
Well, even if you say, she's a strong woman.
Oh, you know what that is.
Dyke.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah, bitch. Yeah.
And if there's any strong women out there, call us up, yes.
Yeah, well... That's the way it is. The thing is I'm not at all surprised. I would have simply, as I said to Charlie, I would have been gobsmacked.
Oh, that's another great.
Gobsmacked if they'd found for poor Jordan.
Well, and it's interesting. I have had a little bit more time recently to read the papers thoroughly, 3 newspapers. And it's just been so sad that in the last 4 or 5 months, and not just in this country, but abroad as well, all of these senseless, angry killings where... it's one thing if something happens on the street and someone comes up to you and then you beat the hell out of them because you think they're going to shoot you or whatever. But these premeditated, the guy who went to that Sikh temple and the person who went to the Dark Night Rises. And I mean, it's just, and the biker is being run off the road and killed. I don't know. It just seems like we went through a period for a few years where, like I know in Chicago, I think, big city, they had the least crimes in 20 years. Now it's gone way up
spiking.
In the last 6 months.
And we're obviously, it's spiking around here now. There's shootings, it seems like every 2 seconds in McKeesport, in Homewood, every day there's another young, and in so many cases it's a young promising person being blown away. It's not just gangbangers.
No, exactly.
It's people that were on this last one the other night. I mean, he was on his way to college.
Yeah,
his freshman year at college. It makes you wanna. I don't know. I scream.
It's very funny. I once had the privilege of sitting next to this guy, and I'll think of his name, who early on took over this school in Harlem. And Mrs. Heinz gave him, this was one of her dinners, and I sat next to him, where she gave him her Family Award of the Year.
Well, he's become very famous.
Yeah, I can't remember his name. Sullivan or no, something like that. Anyway, and so he did this school, and the school, was really fabulous. And then he was saying, and then he said this in a speech as part of this dinner event. He said, but then I realized no matter how good the school was, the minute the kids walked down the street in Harlem,
that's right.
There's whores and pimps and drug dealers and thugs and gang groups, and that's not good enough. So he started, and now there's this it's like 30-block square area in Harlem where he went to people who live there, people who have small businesses, and said, you got to be part of all this. You have to watch out for our kids. If you see, all kids, but I mean, if you see kids, because they wore uniforms, so they could be distinguished very clearly. And, we hope you can give them little jobs, or we'll do little internships so that instead of standing on the street where they're probably very, very frequently would be vulnerable. Yeah, exactly. They'd be doing something. And now this turf has expanded exponentially. And he was just so impressive. It was just so, because, it takes a village to go back to Mrs. Clinton. And there as corny as that phrase has become and hackneyed.
But it's true.
But it really is true. One person, one family, one church or something, I can't do it all.
Oh.
And yet we seem to be getting with the split in the country, so frightened. We're putting our walls up higher and our earphones on tighter, and that, we don't care for anyone outside of the family unit or what have you.
Yeah, I'm absolutely blown away by how scared most people are.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's reaction to anything is to just sort of,
right.
It's never reach out.
Right,
it's never
exactly.
reach out. It's pull in, and I want to pummel people.
Well, do you remember? You're old enough to remember the case. This was like 1971 or 72. Because I just got Genovese.
Oh,
yeah, this story for those of you who are younger. This was a woman in Brooklyn years ago, about 40 some years ago, and she was being raped and bludgeoned to death. And in a crowded section of Brooklyn, it was, 10 o'clock at night. And it was summer, so she was screaming and yelling. And they know that thousands of people could hear her in all these apartment buildings I can't remember what section of Brooklyn was in. And no one even called the police. And it became this hue and cry about New York, but any citizens of cities in America that couldn't, when there was no way that whoever the perpetrator was could see them there on the 15th floor with the windows open in summer night, to call the police, something's happening downstairs, let alone to run out or scream or something. No one. And that was just such a chilling statement about America, I think. And it's the same 40-some years past.
Well, I think it's worse.
Hence. Yeah, well, it may be, yeah.
People are more fearful now, I think. Okay. Change the subject? This is cute. Obama has been telling this story that he heard on the campaign, and I just love it. There was a young couple with a little 4-year-old boy, who the president describes as cute as he can be, and the parents were telling him that there was a picture of Obama at some event they were at, and that they asked their son, this 4-year-old, do you know who that is? And the little boy said, that's Barack Obama. And then his parents said, well, what does Barack Obama do? And the little 4-year-old boy says, Barack Obama approves this message.
But what's interesting about that is, with the more sort of taxonomic information, that what has he spent? They've spent $700 million.
That's what this kid keeps hearing. I'm Barack Obama, and I approve this message. I think he knows. So a 4-year-old, that's what's gotten
brilliant.
Through. Isn't that the
so
greatest?
Brilliant.
And the president's telling the story because, it is funny. But
it's not so funny.
It's not so funny in what it
because what it says. It's a little kid, but it's what it says. The more you wank them, and now if the Republicans have more money, as it seems like they're going to, the more people are going to be hearing Republicans agitprop, that they're going to remember it and maybe vote that way.
Well, speaking of more money and for these horrible ads, I saw a little item, and I just want to pass it on to people who do spend their money. I don't know about you, but I do. If I hear about a company and they take a stand that I absolutely disagree with, and they fund things that I disagree with. Like Chick-fil-A.
Or is that what it is? Are there
Chick-fil-A.
I see.
You know what, though? Up until last year, I didn't know. I would look at it, and I would see, what is that, Chick-fil-A?
Yeah, right. That's what I thought.
What is that? I mean, that sounds so stupid.
Yeah.
Chick-fil-A.
Now, where do you stand on Chick-fil-A? Let me tell you what I think.
Okay.
I thought the smartest, and we'll get back, the smartest person who was opined on this, obviously I think the guy who owns Chick-fil-A is a jerk, but was as I always think, he's brilliant, Mayor Bloomberg. He said, as long as this guy is not, cannot be found to be discriminatory to his employees or to his clients, we can't start being mind control.
That's right.
And a lot of these people like Rahm Emanuel and whatever, who I respect, you can't just say, don't shop there, don't patronize, and that's the ultimate thing. But it's so silly that now all these groups of evangelists say, I want a double tomato Chick-fil-A bun-ridden
Chick-fil-A
monster hoagie, whatever. It's so stupid.
No, I think, look, I long ago heard that Chick-fil-A was owned by some, very Christian folks who were were against gay marriage.
Right.
And I thought, well, fine. Then if I'm feeling like a chicken sandwich, I'm not going to, I won't give them my money. I just, that's not what I'm going to do. I don't have any problem with somebody else going there. Yeah. I also want to say that I have admiration, actually, for the owner of Chick-fil-A in that he really lives his Christianity more in that he does not, at great expense to his own bottom line, he does not keep his shops, his stores open on Sunday.
Right. No, and
now
I respect
that's pretty damn amazing.
Yeah, right. Because that could be
because he thinks that's the God's day. So, God's day. So fine. I have respect for that. I think it's an individual decision where you spend your money, and it's also his right to decide. There was something up on YouTube.
Oh, we don't talk about him, but
did you see the guy
from Fox?
No,
there was some journalist on Fox who said that the day after this came out, some vice president of Chick-fil-A died of a heart attack.
Yes,
so
that's
said,
true.
Screw him. And I mean, now that's really good.
That's outrageous.
And Fox censured him.
Here's something else. I wish I could have it. There was a guy who proudly, with his cell phone camera, videoed himself at a drive-through window at a Chick-fil-A. And what you see is the young girl who's taking his order, and you see, and he says, "Aren't you ashamed to be working in a place like this? How can you sleep at night?" And he's lambasting this minimum wage woman who's working, who has nothing to do with any of this.
Sarah, do you want extra sauce?
You know what? And she's just da-da-da-da-da-da. And then when he's done, he actually turns the camera on himself. He says something about, well, I feel better. I feel like, he felt proud of himself, like he'd done something really righteous. And I'm thinking, you, sir, are a jerk of the first order. You are an idiot. Beating up on that poor woman. Well,
I will say there's one way of doing this, because I remember going once to our local Whole Foods. Mm-hmm. And this is just when the president of Whole Foods had come out in a very nasty way against Obamacare.
Yes.
And I just said to this young woman, I said, I love shopping in your store, and I just wish you would pass on to the manager and then hope he would pass it on to the corporate headquarters, wherever they are, that I really, I'm not going to stop shopping at your store, but that, I think less of the company because of that. And I think there's a way of doing it, but screaming at this poor kid.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, that's, people just don't know how to be civil anymore. That goes along with being frightened. They don't know how to be civil.
Now, I've stopped shopping at a certain big home improvement store that I like very much, and I even forget exactly what it is. It was something political that infuriated me, and I said, well, then screw you. The Muslim thing. Oh, that's right. They boycotted this television show. There was a reality show about Muslims living in, and I thought, well, this just screw you. I'm sorry. Okay, so Home Depot's getting my. It was
and
Lowe's.
That's the best thing to do, because that's how you show them.
Exactly. So here, for those of you who do, you're not going to you're not going to berate an employee at Chick-fil-A, but you're not going to shop there. And here's something else you want to maybe target that I just heard today. Miracle-Gro.
Oh, the beloved Miracle-Gro. They haven't changed the box in 100 years.
Miracle-Gro. Ohio-based. It is now a political player. That's Scott's, too. So any Scott's product, if you do lawn care.
Like paper towel?
No.
Oh.
I don't think so. I don't know if that's the same.
Like fertilizer and...
Yeah. It's it has publicly entered the new world of campaign funding that has been allowed by Citizens United and has let it be known that it is putting hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars into one of these super PACs that is supporting Mitt Romney. So, if you don't want... don't buy Miracle-Gro if some of your money might end up in Mitt Romney's
and scream
pocket.
at your begonias.
I mean, that goes both ways. And I think that most corporations are not doing this kind of thing. They are not publicly because they have nothing to be gained by doing it.
And then, does it go back to what you said about the Chick-fil-A person?
Chick-fil-A.
Excuse me, Chick-fil-A. It's in my mind. Maybe are they doing it because they really feel strongly, and they'd say, well, I don't want any harpy liberal like Lynn Cullen using my product. I'm willing to take the knock.
Whatever. I'm sure they arrive at these things through
some sort of whatever.
Some process that they think it out. Well.
Oh, guys, did you read this? I'm just wondering what your listeners think about this. There was something in the paper yesterday, and it said that the first time that President Obama and one of the Republicans agreed was this Republican came out and said that, and I didn't know this actually, that people who win medals at the Olympics, not only get the medal, but I didn't realize that maybe it's the American Olympic Association gives the winners $25,000 for gold medal, 15 and 10 for silver and bronze as a money prize. And that, I didn't know that either. And that he was saying they should not have, because they worked so hard.
Shouldn't have to pay taxes on it.
They shouldn't have to pay taxes on it.
And they all agreed.
Well, Barack did. And, it's sort of, at the heat of the Olympics. But, the thing is that I'd like to rant about this for a little bit. These kids, they work hard, and they all are kids mostly, 16 to 23 or something. But, it's partly masturbatory because, as this article went on to say, this young woman, I can't remember which one it was, of the American gymnastics, she's one of these cute girls with two ponytail things.
Yes.
She didn't make the all-around, or she only didn't make a gold medal, but she's so cute, so already Wheaties is going to have her on the box. So she's going to make a fortune like Mary Lou Retton or Nadja Comaneci 100 years ago. And, fine, good for her, but that doesn't make her noble. What about some candy striper in a hospital who works just as many hours for no glory? And, what about, as another article has said, a couple of them on the web and in newspapers, about how originally in Greece and then in modern time when the Olympiads started up again in the 20s or whatever it was, that they would also give prizes for arts and literature because it was part of, I think I've used this term before, the Demotic Greek, kalos kagathos, meaning that someone should be well fit, in
all ways,
and
mentally
well thought of. That you should be like, Lynn Cullen, she does good work and she's pretty fit. And it's just these athletes, and they're cosseted in many instances. Someone is paying for them. Now, in some cases, it's a poor mother working 3 jobs, and I appreciate that. But is it basically because they think it's going to be good for the kid, or they want the Wheaties sponsorship thing?
Well, I don't know. The fact of the matter is you are generally negative about any sports-related thing.
No. But when it's about this glorious thing, what if some of these kids are bigots or are only selfish and what have you? That's not kalos kagathos, but we treat them like.
Well, we do. Well, because
well, you said it, Queen. Not celebrity. It's not about zeal or hard work. It's about we appreciate.
Yeah, but nobody gets to the Olympics without working very hard.
But what about these crippled kids in the para?
That's certainly true of them too. But we worship the fully abled body. It's human.
Yeah, but I mean, when people are starving in this country, and we're going to give Ilya or Rubinov or whatever her name is, one of those gymnasts, she won't have to pay for her, whatever. She can buy more match shoes or something. I just find that silly. And that the president and the Republican both are just playing to, the bleachers at this moment with the Olympics are on. I just think it's silly and it's embarrassing.
Okay.
So there. So all you jocks call up and...
You're holding up the artsy-fartsy.
No, not artsy-fartsy, but people work hard. People often do it.
Of course they do, but this is the world. Most hardworking people get no recognition at all.
I know. So someone who can jump on a horse?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Because
you're Wisconsin.
Yeah. Because people who can do things that by far most other people cannot do. We're in awe of them.
I can pick those pockets than you can.
Okay, those little pigtail gymnasts do things with their bodies that the rest of us are like.
But can they spell translucent?
Well, I don't know. Maybe so.
Maybe so.
Jeez.
Okay. Oh, now we're gonna get, or maybe that stupid fat woman will call up. The dancing coach in Pittsburgh. Do you know about that?
Oh God.
I've never seen the show. I've just seen
you want
clips.
to? I've seen the show once.
Impossible.
She is the worst human being in the universe.
World. Yeah.
And now she's rich.
Oh really?
Oh sure, she's got to be rich. She's being rewarded. She's now on another show. They're building a show around her. Because she is so obnoxious.
The Roseanne Barr
and so repulsive that she's, it's that classic thing of people wanting to watch a train wreck.
Yeah, but for the grace of God, go on.
Well, they don't even, they're just appalled by her. And she is perfectly comfortable being a total jerk.
Well, and there the point is to,
and a horrible teacher.
Well, that I don't know.
No, she's horrible. She abuses these kids. It's all about her. It is.
Right. Or the question goes back to a little bit before about the Olympics, which is, yes, one has to be rough and whatever if you're going to be a great star dancer, singer, whatever, ice skater, basketball player. But you don't have to berate, humiliate, and sometimes physically slap these people to make them look well. They're the coaches who are supportive and teachers and whatever, but this woman just sounds like a pig.
Yeah. Hey, here's something funny.
Maybe she'll call in. Call in, pig.
She doesn't listen.
No, I'm sure she does.
Nothing makes me angrier than this voter ID thing.
Oh.
And Jon Stewart had a good comparison for these voter ID laws, which are totally unnecessary. I mean, it's just, of course. They're fantasy stuff. It's just
it's going to be interesting to see as, we all get to, for
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm gonna. Yeah, I don't know.
Although I'm not so worried about you or me getting.
Well, I really don't know.
But I'm talking about the fact of their saying, and I guess we'll only know with the election, and then when they do the numbers.
You know what? I don't.
How many people will get cut out because they don't have this stuff?
Look, my voter. It's possible that my voter ID that they have has my. I have a first name, and it's not Lynn.
Oh, okay.
Don't you know what my first name is?
Let's see.
Oh, it's.
I don't know. What is it?
Ida.
Ooh, Ida.
Yes.
Sweet, sweet Ida.
Ida, sweet as apple cider.
With her pet cow in Grand Rapids. No.
Okay.
Racine.
Green Bay.
Green Bay.
How can you forget that? Because you don't even know there's a football team there. You're so out of it.
No, not that. Did you ever tell that old joke? I remember when I went to New York in the early 70s, and someone goes into Bloomingdale's to shop. And that was when Bloomingdale's was the last word.
Yeah.
And they go in, and there's this snooty person, looked very good, who was at the counter, and this person said, "Oh, I would like to ship that, please." All right. And where would you like to ship it? Oh, to Ohio. And the Bloomingdale's clerk says, "In New York, we pronounce it Iowa." I always love that truck.
Oh, the provincialism and stupidity of the New Yorker.
Right, exactly.
Oh, that is too funny.
But so that for me not to distinguish between Grand Rapids and Green Bay and Racine and
okay, so anyway,
see, I know 4 or 5 cities. Milwaukee.
Yeah, Milwaukee. So.
All right.
So the voter ID law, so unnecessary, so ridiculous, that he said next up from the Republicans, they're going to be getting behind mandatory leash laws for unicorns.
Oh my God.
Perfect.
It's the same thing. Right.
Perfect.
But what I was saying, so my name is Ida Lynn. I never, I just jettisoned, although I've noticed that on my deed for my house, there it is.
That's your legal name.
Yeah, and on a lot of legal documents, there it is. So
Do you want it on your tombstone?
No, I don't. So on my my driver's license, it says Lynn Cullen. It is conceivable that when I show up at the polls, that it says that their thing says Ida Lynn.
Right. Well,
I don't think it does, but if it does, and even though those people know me and know I'm Lynn Cullen, if they want it, if there's not a match, is it? See, I think a lot of people like me have something like that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, or a middle initial.
Right. Oh, yeah,
that
right.
you've always put down as just the letter, but on their thing, it's the full name.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, no, they said there was an article in the paper that mentioned some woman.
Yeah.
That there were 30,000 people, they thought, who were legitimately registered, etc., but somehow, because of just the situation you're talking about,
I think
could
there's
get
more
bumped.
than that. No, they think there's hundreds of thousands.
No, this was just Pittsburgh, not across the country.
Okay.
I mean,
No.
Western
Hundreds of thousands in Pennsylvania.
Really? I didn't think it was that high of a number.
Yeah, in Pennsylvania. So, whatever. It's despicable.
Not really.
Leash laws for unicorns next.
Really.
We got to take a break.
Okay, just one quick thing. How many states have these laws? I don't remember.
Almost every state that is controlled by a Republican legislature has seen fit to do this.
Okay.
And that is the majority of states now. That's 26.
No, it's true. That's true.
So I do think it is a majority of states, although they vary in stringency.
Right.
And
the big part is the largest growing population is Hispanic. And that's going to probably kick that vote. I could see hundreds of thousands, maybe 1 million votes out, because many of these people may not have, don't know the specifications. This was something in the Times the other day. And, that's the crowd they're looking at to really boom Obama.
Well, there's a reason why this law was passed, because it affects poor people tend to vote Democrat.
Right.
Black people tend to vote Democrat. Hispanics tend to vote Democrat. And young people tend to vote Democrat.
Right.
So there's a reason for this. They've always been up to this kind of thing. Indeed. We got to take a break, and we'll be back.
Stick around for more with Lynn Cullen Live after this.
Laser Hair and Skin Center has been providing professional, affordable services for over 10 years. Now they're proud to exclusively offer RegenLite acne treatment. RegenLite is an FDA-approved, non-invasive drug, chemical, and pain-free treatment of all grades of acne. With RegenLite, you will experience a 50% improvement in less than 2 weeks, with lasting improvement for up to 12 weeks. Call the Laser Hair and Skin Center today at 412-373-1700 and receive $100 off your first session. Or go to mylaserhair.com for more information and to see their full line of services. The Laser Hair and Skin Center.
Go to bergbargains.com for great deals on tickets to the Science Center, History Museum, Carnegie Museums, and some of the best restaurants in Pittsburgh. This week, get half off monthly memberships to Club One Fitness. bergbargains.com. Local deals, local merchants. bergbargains.com. Get Lynn Cullen Live on your smartphone. Go to citypapermobile.com now for Pittsburgh City Paper's brand new mobile app. Get the latest restaurant reviews, event listings, movie times, and of course, Lynn Cullen Live on your smartphone. citypapermobile.com.
You're listening to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Once again, here's Lynn Cullen.
And people are just, okay, we'll talk.
They get scared. Right.
Yeah.
Oops, sorry. What? We're here.
Margaret writes to us, Margaret Caramos, who always is a very good listener. No comments. We don't know what that means.
What she's commenting
about which of the things you're not
about.
commenting about. So
We
be
don't
clearer,
get it.
Margaret.
We don't get it. Have you heard about Jim Roddy's remark?
No, wait, let me just get
No.
All right.
You're such a blabbermouth.
It connected to what
Blah,
we were
blah, blah,
talking
blah, blah,
about.
blah, blah.
You're a harpy. All right.
Jesus.
What did Mr. Roddy say?
Mr. Roddy got in trouble.
Oh, good.
Because he was at some event on Tuesday night. They had the special election to fill January, blah,
right,
blah, 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 blah. And he was at, I don't know, in somewhere where there was a parking lot. And he said he was in the parking lot and he saw some guy looking for a space. Mm-hmm. And Roddy, being a nice guy, you sort of motioned over to him that there's this, space over here. And the guy drives up and sees the space, and he says to Roddy, "Oh, no, that's a handicap space." And Roddy says back to him, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I saw that Obama sticker on your car, and I thought that you were mentally retarded." What? Oh! Now, wait. So, of course, all hell has broken loose, right?
Yeah, that's really below the belt.
No, I want to say that is not a nice thing to say to somebody, but I think it's, to my mind, I think it's sort of funny if you want to know the truth. The reason he's had to apologize is because of the politically incorrect thing of calling the guy mentally retarded. That's what the apology has had to be.
Well, it should be. I mean, because the fact that he doesn't like Obama, that has every right. But I mean,
yeah, but I have to tell you, on a daily basis, I sit here, and so do you. Before the show was...
But we were not county executives.
The show was 2 seconds old, and you were saying that people who don't... That people are moronic if they, don't read the New York Times, or that anyone who does read the New York Times is not a moron, mentally retarded.
Well, they're two something different words.
We all do this. I constantly say Republicans are crazy,
right, exactly.
Or they're mentally deranged, or they're this and that. Maybe I would say retarded.
One would think that a county executive would have.
But I must say, I think normally I would laugh at that. That he said, "Here's a space." Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were handicapped. I thought maybe you were mental. You don't think? I think everybody should
I have very mixed feelings about Mr. Roddy. So.
All right. Okay. I do too.
Okay.
But I'm just saying, God, sometimes I get so sick of this political correctness.
No, I
can't
agree
see
with
straight.
that.
We've got
I
a
agree
call.
with that.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, this is David. I'm just calling from my office here in Pittsburgh, and I'm watching it on the live stream.
Hi.
The reason I just wanted, because when you started talking about the voter ID thing, it made me pop up that here's what let me just tell you what it's supposed to do, in case you haven't figured it out.
Okay.
All right. It is not to stop Juan Rodriguez or anybody else from voting. What it's supposed to do is stop all these organizations that collect hundreds of voters together and then just show up and say, "Oh, look what we found, just all these people that voted, and by golly, by gum, every single one was a Democrat, hundreds of these votes." That's what it's supposed to prevent.
I didn't even follow. I didn't follow you.
Because I know there are people on both sides of
these organizations, organizations like Acorn and all these other voter get out and vote groups.
But the point is, if these people don't register or haven't registered on election day, whether they're brought in a bus by, Republicans, Democrats of the Catholic Church, they can't vote. But if they are registered properly, what is wrong with that?
Yeah. That's what it's supposed to prevent, is that these people that are registered somehow voted that day, even though they didn't go to the voting, but who knows if they went.
No. But here's what even the state of Pennsylvania acknowledges that they have no proof at all. They have no cases where somebody has voted who had been misregistered or had voter fraud. There's been no voter fraud at the polls, which is what this is supposed to deal with.
Right.
So it is what? A solution to a problem that in fact doesn't exist.
Wrong. What it is preventing, don't you even remember in 2008, right here in this area, I think it was Stephen Sapalo, this group was registering people that were felons that didn't exist. I don't even remember when it was brought. It was dropped now because it's irrelevant. But don't you remember? That was just 4 years ago. It was right here in Pittsburgh. They had this, it was Acorn or somebody was registering people that didn't exist, and they were registering them. Now, that's what it's supposed to prevent is all these supposed people that registered, all Democrat, who go out and then vote.
Wait a minute. First of all, if you're a convicted felon, you cannot legally register, and so that registration would not have gone through. It's why you even know about it. So this law in no way, shape, or form, all it does, if you are registered and been passed, your registration has been passed, you have now got to show up at the polls with a proof that you are exactly that person who is registered. That's what this is about.
Well, and further,
Correct.
If there is improper pseudo-registration, as you were suggesting, sir, you certainly don't think it happens on both sides of the aisle?
I'm telling you that there is no case where somebody has attempted to vote where they fraudulently. Okay, there have been. You've been swallowing the Kool-Aid.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, but I thought the liberals were the ones that tell us how precious the vote is. It's so godly precious. It's the number one thing in the world. Why shouldn't we protect it then?
Because
we think it is so precious that the one thing you don't do is try to put impediments in the way of people trying to exercise this greatest and most important of our rights, the right to have a voice in our government. And Republicans are forever doing that. It should be made as easy as possible for people to register, for people to vote, and impediments should not have anything to do with it. The reason Republicans do it is there are many more people registered as Democrats. To depress and repress voter turnout will always accrue to the benefit of the Republicans, which is why they're notorious for coming up with schemes to keep people from the polls.
Well, and further to that, I really believe, as in many countries, I know in Australia, it is not this whole business we go on, our lovely, wonderful right to vote. It is a duty to vote. And
in some countries you have to, or you're penalized.
And you pay a fine of $100 or $200.
If you don't.
And I think that would be, and that's often why elections are on Sundays, now pace to Chick-fil-A guy and whatever about the Sabbath, but when most people are not working and you get more people out to vote, even though we are, 7 in the morning till 9 at night. But I really think it should be a mandated thing, and that would get rid of all this business of how you register and whatever.
Well, but you have to ask yourself if you want people forced to vote who pay no attention,
But they're citizens.
But you want them to have an informed vote or not?
No, well, I wouldn't like that, but I think then you get back to, the very, very beginnings of our country, and only people who were landed gentry could vote. Mm-hmm. I mean, so.
Oh, no comment, Margaret says, with sarcasm regarding athletes.
Thank you, Margaret.
Okay, Ansel writes, Lynn, the man who once said corporations are people, I guess that would be Mitt Romney, apparently doesn't believe the inverse. Romney spoke during a campaign event in Des Moines yesterday, and when pressed on why he's not releasing more tax returns, he justified it by saying, I'm not a business. Okay, so
but he ran
businesses can be people, but people cannot be businesses. It sure looks like
Michael
he
Jackson
has something.
Have said about that?
The more he resists, the more anybody thinks that he's hiding something.
Yeah.
And that's why the Democrats have this guy now on this issue. I mean, he's screwed. And he either has to let it out, which he clearly doesn't want to because it's There's something there.
He paid $3.
I'm not saying that it's illegal.
Right,
it's just that there's something there that is going to separate him even further from the common
Well, because
man.
we all know, and we all have, if we use tax people to do our taxes, we always want to get the best. And if you're as rich as he is and has been, he has marvelous lawyers and CPAs.
Well, sure.
And, he's paid millions of dollars of taxes, I'm sure, but is that the percentage that you and I have paid?
Right. Bob writes, I know this is off the subject, but since I'll be there today, are any of you two going to the Pirates game this afternoon? And are you planning to buy playoff tickets if the Pirates clinch? I would try to get tickets in a second if they clinch. This one doesn't give a hoot about any of this. He's not a baseball fan.
I'm not a sports fan, but the fact that they're playing well and the city has taken this as a sort of upswing emotionally, good for them.
No, I'm not going to the game. I have tickets to a game at the end of this month. That's my next game that I have tickets to. And I hope they get this game in, Bob, because...
what do you mean by that, get it in? You mean they win
It's supposed to rain.
Oh, I see. Now tell me, because I know they're doing well.
They're 2.5 out now.
What does that mean, 2.5 out?
They're 2.5 games behind the leader.
Oh, I see. But how does that work, though? I mean, isn't there at the end, it's not just the top one, but they play... Wait, no. Shh. No, wait. Before you castigate me... I thought that at the end, even though there's a ranking, don't the top 2 or 3 play a few games to see who then represents the National League?
There are wild card positions.
Well, thank you. Now, even though I don't know the jargon.
Okay. Well, we have the misfortune of having the team that is the hottest team in baseball.
Who's going to be the game?
In our division.
Oh, I see.
Who's the one we're 2.5 behind.
Oh,
that would be the Cincinnati Reds.
Yes, I know that. Cincinnati Reds. I know that.
Okay.
Wasn't that where Pete Rose was? Cincinnati Reds?
Yes, long time ago. Yes.
Schadenfreude.
So anyway, we're now in the wild card mix, and we'll never. I mean, we've been ahead of the Reds once
for some moment.
But they are. I think.
So the chances.
I think they're the best team
the Pirates
in
won't
baseball.
Get into the.
Well, no, we could on a wild card thing probably get by them, but whatever. We've never been in the hunt in this far into the season.
Okay.
In the last 20-some
years. That I know.
So it's pretty wonderful. And
I think it's good.
We have on our team the guy who could well be the National League's most valuable player. That would be Andrew McCutchen, who's our center fielder, right. And he's just hot as hell in every conceivable manner. And now I have to take a break. Jeez. I have to take a break.
More is on the way with Lynn Cullen Live.
Pittsburgh City Paper is now available on your smartphone. Go to citypapermobile.com to read this week's digital issue or search for restaurants, bars, concerts, events, and movies on any portable device. Plus blogs, Lynn Cullen, City Guide, CPTV, and Best of Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh City Paper available at over 1,700 locations throughout western Pennsylvania and on the web at pghcitypaper.com and on your smartphone at citypapermobile.com.
Hey, Billy, want to go to the state fair?
Yeah!
Well, you can't.
Huh?
Well, you see, Billy, when you throw away money on wasted electricity, you throw away everything you could have done with it. But now your parents are becoming energy efficient. They could save hundreds of dollars a year and take you to the fair next year.
I want to go now.
Oh, I know you do. Saving energy saves you money. Learn more at EnergySavers.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Energy and the Ad Council.
Now, it's back to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com.
All right, we are back. Back? That sound like back?
Yep.
Okay. There is only, by the way, one Democrat in the House of Representatives from the South who is white.
Wait, start again?
Of all the Democrats in the House of Representatives from southern states,
they're all African American.
The Deep South, they're all African American except one white person. So what it shows again is the racial divide in this country. That if you're white and you're in Congress from the Deep South, you're a Republican.
Right.
And if you're black and in Congress from the Deep South, you're a Democrat.
All right. But an interesting...
Or if you're a Democrat, you're black.
Right. But the interesting thing about that, though, what I heard, and I understand what you're saying, is, though, there are enough now African-American voters who are registered in those states that, in addition just to the white voters, that are electing black representatives. Because I think years ago that Democrat...
No, it's by district, but it's because of the way districts are
No,
drawn.
I know, but nevertheless. But I think there's more and more people in the African-American community who are registered, and that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I have one little thing here of an artsy-fartsy nature to take up with you.
Good.
Before we leave. I also want to say that there's no show tomorrow for people who... Or Monday. I'm taking a 4-day weekend.
Oh, were you gallivanting somewhere?
Yes, I am. And I'm taking a 4-day weekend next week. So that's just a heads up. I'm not taking any big vacation this year, but So tomorrow I'm off to Cedar Rapids or Grand Rapids or Green Bay or Kenosha, one of those places that are interchangeable.
Yeah, right, exactly. But they all have cheese in them.
Yes, they do. They have good cheese. To get to my mom's 90th birthday party.
Oh,
yeah, so,
mazel.
Yeah, mazel indeed. We'll have a lot of fun. And then the next weekend I'm going someplace else.
Good for you. You deserve a break today.
I deserve a break.
As some company once said.
Okay, so I want to take this. There's two things I want to take up with you. One,
do please.
This has always annoyed the hell out of me. I sometimes will read a review of an art show at some gallery here, and I literally do not comprehend one word that is being said. It is like gobbledygook. There's one person in particular who writes for a certain local paper who I will say find her writing incomprehensible often.
Okay.
And
that is a problem.
There's an article here about what is they're calling international art English, which they're just making fun of. They're saying it's a lingo,
of course,
that you speak, I'm sure, and that critic speaks. And they say here...
But can I stop you for just 1 second? But I try, I mean, of course...
No, I know, I think you don't.
No, in any discipline, one does, you know. Just like when you were going on something about the Pirates and they just hunted or hinted or whatever. But no, I'm running because of running a public institution. And when I lecture, I really feel I've always been very...
you want to communicate.
I've been a very, what's the word? Populist. Because you want to communicate and you want people to understand why this art is good and why you appreciate it. And I've never found an instance when someone is at least halfway intelligent that they don't get it. Whereas if you talk to them in lingo, they don't know about it. It's like me talking to a doctor about carpal this and hallux that, and it's not words.
Well,
for
it's
the general public.
whatever. I read it. It's
often
pretentious as hell, and often I suspect if you boil it down, it ain't saying much of anything.
No, well, so I could
and
say,
that's what these guys are saying.
Yesterday, in the New York Times, a very dear friend of mine had a review of his book, which is called How to Be Gay. And it's very interesting. His name is David Halpern. But in it, and the review was good in one part, but in another part, they said just that, and they gave these two phrases that were incomprehensible, sort of literary jargon talk. And then the reviewer said, and can you imagine, both of those phrases were in the same sentence. They're generally a good review, but they went after him because there's parts. I mean, it's a very clever thing, which I won't go into. But anyway, go ahead.
Okay, well, part of what these guys say is that, I mean, in this kind of international art English,
yes,
which he says sounds like inexpertly translated French, always using more rather than fewer words, and the adjectives just, it is such crap. You read it, and it's designed to make the reader feel stupid. Unless the reader has a sure enough sense of their own intellect to say speak back to the writer and say, you are full of crap.
Well, I would add one more thing to that, and I was guilty of this here. I was asked not so long ago to write something for an artist for this person's show out of the country.
And his work.
Well, wait.
I'm
going to tell you.
All right,
So I was partly guilty because I did this because of a friend, a mutual friend. And I didn't think quite so much of this artist's work, but I said, oh, right. And they were asking me simply because of who I was. Like, former German. And I didn't really like the work so much, so I had to just use lots of adjectives to make it seem like
you were saying something nice.
Oh, the poignancy of the colors.
Exactly.
The lush brushwork and all that. And also, and then to be fair, though, to take the opposite view, sometimes when you have an abstract work, there isn't a lot of chewy things. Oh, she represents the cows in Grand Rapids, and, the such and such and such. So you have to start talking about texture, and sometimes that is very difficult to do. So to be fair on one hand.
Okay. Well, I just want to say that the next time you're reading something that you assume is over your head, don't necessarily believe it's over your head. It is, in fact, someone engaging in some form of masturbation.
Right.
And just a few of us understand this stuff.
Exactly.
So I'm just talking to them. This article also goes on to say that another thing that has, with the rise of international art English, has also come the decline of a verb, which is curate. And the noun curator, which they said it has become one of the most overused cliches around, drained of any meaning. It can apply to absolutely anything. So where it used to be a very special thing, well, I am a curator.
Right. Well, let me go back.
Okay.
The word curator comes from the Latin curare, and that doesn't have to do with like curare poison in the Amazon.
A spiritual guide.
No, that's not right. Curare means to take care of. And
in ancient Rome, curatores were government officials with administrative roles.
Well, yes, that's true. But what I'm saying is the actual verb, curare, means to take care of. And the specific I'm getting at is in England and in other European countries that translate to German, etc., French, they always say, like, someone who works in a museum is a keeper. You're a keeper of the porcelain, the keeper of the paintings. But what curare means is you keep it on a shelf and it's clean and it's protected. You also take care of its provenance, its history, to make sure that it's real and not a copy or something. You write about it in the kind of language you're not.
So you have to be knowledgeable.
Knowledgeable on all levels. It's intellectual, it's physical, it's you ensure it.
Right.
But now curate basically is a word of like, I'm a picker. I've just curated my table. Like, what's that woman's name who's the girlfriend of Governor Cuomo in New York?
Yeah.
Sarah something or other. Oh, I've put banana peels and carnations and Aunt Jemima doll. I've curated the table landscape. That's not what curation is.
But that's how it's used now.
I put together. I put it together. I've picked.
I curated my outfit today. Do you like this?
Oh, it's so lovely and fetching.
Join the crowd. I mean, the fact is that there is this constant sort of pollution of the meaning.
I remember a woman said to me once, who's not a stupid person, but she said, I'm not an art historian, I'm just a curator. And so I just said, oh, you pick things and make sure they all match in color? And she got very mad. But, because there is something like art history, which is the discipline you go through in order to be a curator. Right. Or a map expert goes through that, or, a journalist that you have expertise.
That's right.
And someone who's just picking things because they match, that's a fashion consultant, if you ask me.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
We are in agreement. I just want to get this in real fast as
that's good information.
Barbara actually, rather than opinion, gave us some information here, and she is a committee woman in the city, and she says concerning photo IDs, if you have any questions that you might run into trouble, please, she says, call the Allegheny County Democratic Committee. I'll give you a phone number if you want, although you can look it up too. 412-481-5646. 481-5646. Or you call the Allegheny County Board of Elections, 412-350-4500. 350-4500. Your name must match exactly on the voter registration rolls as it does on the driver's license or on whatever photo ID you're bringing. They can give you the information. If there's not a match, you're going to need to register. Other forms of acceptable ID, passport, U.S. military ID, employee photo ID issued by a governmental agency, federal, so if you're a government worker, a photo ID from a Pennsylvania Institute of Higher Education that also includes an expiration date. Boy, they didn't miss a... Or a photo ID from a licensed Pennsylvania care facility.
So that gives you a bit of leverage. I mean, the law is stupid,
Right.
but I mean,
it is
those
beyond
things give you...
belief. Let us hope that this judge throws this law out.
When do I hope to have a ruling? Do you know?
I think this week or next week, or he wants to get the ruling out so that there can be an appeal, which there will be. Whoever loses is going to appeal. So, Barb, thank you for that information. I appreciate it. Okay? Have a great weekend. Go Pirates!
And have fun in Cheeseland.
I will. We're going to have a riot.
Good.
We really are going to have a ball. And I'll be back on Tuesday. Okay? Toodaloo.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.